Nice.
All right, we are
Yeah,
live.
we're going to be talking to them soon, so we'll find out all the details. But we'll explain it all and when we go live, when it's that segment.
All right, we are live.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 27th recurring Platform and Treasury Council meeting. Today, we're going to cover governance initiatives, platform developments, and upcoming proposals. I'm going to ask someone to post the agenda in the chat now. These bi-weekly meetings provide transparency into council operations. They offer proposers a forum to present directly to the council members and the community, and they maintain consistent communication across the global ecosystem. So what are we building? Well, we're building the internet of money. There's 7 billion people connected by mobile phones, yet they're unable to truly own and move money the way that they own and move data. The Telcoin Association is changing that. We're establishing Telcoin Network and Tel as the blockchain and token standard for global telecommunications. The telecoms are the ones that run the internet, and with Telcoin Network, they will also process blocks, which is going to secure the settlement layer for digital finance, and that makes it accessible to every mobile subscriber worldwide. The platform's architecture is integrated in 3 different layers as one system. Telcoin Network is the EVM-compatible Layer 1 blockchain that's validated exclusively by GSMA mobile network operators, introducing an entirely new revenue stream for telecoms. TelX is our liquidity layer that enables user-owned self-custodial asset exchanges. And TAN is the mobile applications that connect these users to the blockchain and the financial services and within each other. So the platform also consists of 4 minor groups that create a shared governance. And these minor groups are equal stakeholders. We have the validators. Validators are GSMA MNOs. They secure the blockchain and they earn transaction fees and block rewards. You have liquidity miners that provide liquidity to enable the decentralized exchanges and asset exchange. You have developers that build compliant mobile applications that run on Telcoin Network. You have stakers that drive adoption and connect payment networks. Each miner earns fees and Tel issuance. They align telecoms, developers, liquidity providers, and users across the value chain. GSMA validation rights scale to the billions through existing infrastructure. They are supreme at that. Distributed ownership turns participants into defenders, and viral at launch, it's defensible at scale. So Tel is the native token. It powers the network as the gas token, staking asset, and the governance mechanism. Miners can stake Tel to participate. They earn fees from transactions. They harvest from these issuance flows. And staked Tel determines both earning power and governance influence. We also have structured this as a democratic governance. So the association operates as a Swiss variant with 5 elected councils. Platform and Treasury councils hold global authority over the platform-wide systems and token economics. And we work closely with TAN Council, TelX Council, and Compliance Council to see these initiatives through. Our dual mandate is to oversee sustainable platform provisioning, planning, infrastructure, and collective goods. We need to be responsible with the Tel allocation. We need to regulate token distribution for miners and to allow them to harvest based on their productive contributions. So every decision makes and helps shape whether we achieve this vision. We're trying to unite GSMA mobile operators and these billions of users around a shared blockchain infrastructure where money moves like data and it's accessible to every mobile phone globally. So as your elected representatives, we commit to thoughtful proposal review, consistent communication, transparent platform updates, and faithful execution of the governance framework that you've entrusted to us. So with that, let's jump into a recap of last meeting. So in the last meeting, we discussed several things. We focused on governance updates, technical progress, and election results. We celebrated the recent Uphold listing and the passing of the financial and operational support package with Storm Partners. The council's reviewed a proposal to consolidate Telcoin Association web infrastructure into a unified master site under telcoin.network. And we also congratulated and met the newly elected council members. All right, so to start with today's agenda, first topic, it will be a Telcoin network update, and we'll jump right in. So from a technical perspective, we've made steady progress since the last Platform Treasury Council meeting. The team has deployed the latest version of the protocol, which brings DevNet back online. And that deployment is a really important step in our production hardening phase. It allows us to stress test the network under real conditions and identify areas that need strengthening before mainnet. So our current focus has come from this latest deployment. We've identified some areas that require additional work around syncing and writing to the database. But this is exactly the type of issue that we're trying to discover during this phase. We want to push the protocol now in order to identify and address these issues ahead of the mainnet launch. So on the security assessment front, we have closed another 14 issues over the last 3 weeks, and we're methodically working through the remaining competition findings. So we have 2 on the Rust side, and we have 7 on the smart contract side. So as part of this review, we're also evaluating some of the architectural decisions, including where we could simplify certain components, like the recoverable wrapper contract, for instance. But as always, and it's on the screen here, if for our visual viewers, you can track the detailed progress of our roadmap on the website, roadmap.telcoin.network. So we are committed to shipping when it's secure, not when it's convenient. But I want to thank everyone for their patience and support as we continue to work to address these last few patches and move on to the next round of security assessments. With that update, I will pause and invite any questions specifically for Telcoin network updates.
I think, Grant, there was one question I received today, which was about that last remaining high that's on the remaining security patches. Maybe you could just touch on that particular one.
Great, I'd love to. So that particular high, it involves the way that transactions are submitted before consensus. Specifically, there is a DOS attack vector, denial of service, where a user could specify a maximum gas limit, which would be currently 30 million gas. So if the user has 30 million gas worth of Telcoin, and gas is kind of a variable with the actual final price, right? So you have gas is a measurement of computation. You also have the current fee, and you multiply those to figure out how much Tel you would have to spend in order to submit your transaction. And because of the nature of our consensus, the worker nodes, when they collect and propose transactions, they look at this gas limit, and the gas limit we limit to the actual proposed gas limit, right? So if a group of transactions can only have a maximum of 30 million gas, and a user has 30 million times whatever the current fee is worth of Tel, and they claim that they are willing to pay 30 million gas, then that transaction would be the only transaction for that group of transactions. And so what this does is it effectively takes up all the remaining space in that group of transactions for that moment in time. And batches of transactions happen very quickly, but this is still a concern because if you had everybody specifying, if they had the funds and everybody was specifying this maximum gas limit, then it would be the only transaction, and it would dramatically reduce our transaction throughput. So with that is kind of tricky because it is a very unique issue for Telcoin Network's protocol because of the way that we're EVM execution, but we're using Narwhal and a version of Bullshark for consensus. And so we took our time with that one because it affects pricing and with the ultimate execution. And so what we've developed was we did a lot of research into how the ecosystem operates with these sort of estimates, right? Because the last thing we want to ensure that we are maintaining maximum compatibility with things, open source and decentralized tools like MetaMask and all the other EVM wallets out there, and all the other EVM tools, Foundry, Forge, Hardhat, etc. And all these different tools have ways to estimate gas that is kind of included with the user. So that's included and kind of it's an abstraction so that the user experience, they don't have to sit there and do math. You try to submit a transaction. It's like, okay, we think that this would be your gas limit. And for the most part, it's usually 2 to 4 times higher than what the current estimated gas fees would actually cost. And that's just to be on the safe side, because you really don't know how much gas you're going to use until the moment of execution. And so we have specified in the protocol a 10-time limit. And this is something that I'm currently in the process of writing out, and we're thoroughly testing, which is the delay on that last high. The actual code is implemented, but just kind of expanding test coverage. But essentially what that means is, like, if a user comes in and let's say that there's the most simple gas would be 21,000 gas to have a direct transfer of tel to tel between wallets. And this is the same measurement for Ethereum to Ethereum. This is an EVM specific gas computation measurement, 21,000 gas. It's the lowest, it's the simplest, it's the lowest gas operation that you can do on blockchain. And so if you specified 30 million gas, but you only use 21,000 gas, you are significantly over that. You're way over 10 times. Actually, I have the number somewhere, but ultimately what we decided was after 10 times, if you're 10 times over the estimated gas limit, then it would start to incur a quadratic scaling penalty. So if a user has specified 30 million gas, but they only use 21,000 of this gas, then they would end up paying some additional gas to kind of compensate for that specific block space that they took that they didn't need. And those actual like numbers there, just to kind of clarify, and sorry to kind of get in if this is way too over the top, but I think that this is something that's worth documenting and definitely open to feedback as we move forward. But this is right here. All right, so the actual numbers here, and this is in the public PR. I will share the link in this next call. But basically, oh, here actually, I'll share my screen. All right. So with this, this is kind of what we're talking about. This is what the solution that we've been discussing for the past few months and doing some extensive research at. So here, I invite you to look at this little column here. So if you have a gas limit, if a user specifies a gas limit of 21,000 and they use 21,000, they've used 100% of their gas, there would be no penalty. But if you start to scale up 420,000, 21, you're still at 5%. You're still well within that threshold. Sorry, you have to use at least 10%. That 10x would amount to 10%. So when you get up past this, like this one, where you only use 5% of the gas, then you would have like a 25% penalty. If you claimed that you were going to use 30 million gas and you only use 21,000 gas, you've used, this would be the most extreme discrepancy. And ultimately what you would be penalized in would be this much gas, which would be a very hefty penalty. Now, a lot of other, like one of the other blockchains protocols that has a similar problem is called Monad. And they do something where they have a minimum fee for even submitting a transaction. So anytime you submit a transaction and it could still fail, you still have to, just like on Ethereum, if it fails on chain, you lose that gas up until the point where the transaction reverted. But on Monad, you're guaranteed you must pay a small fee to even be considered in the mempool. So what we're trying to do is a different approach where we will happily accept whatever transactions. You don't have to pay until we finally execute. But if you do take up and you hog space and you are significantly over, again, this would be 20 times over the estimate. And what most common tools are estimating 2 to 4 times. So we think that 10% is a really fair estimate boundary before penalties are start to assess. Yeah, this high binding is very tricky and has significant consequences. So it's taken a while on why we just really wanted to take our time and test it thoroughly and ensure that we're making sound decision, and that we aren't going to. The last thing we want to do is penalize a user who didn't understand something or who was trusting a MetaMask type estimate, and then boom, where'd all my money go? So that's probably too much information, but that was the last high that we're almost done with. Like I said, this is the actual code that we'll be implementing. I'm still working on some testing. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. That's great.
Yes, Angelica.
I just wanted to ask you, is there a disclaimer right before the customer does a transaction that it says, oh, here's a 25% gas penalty?
That this is something that, again, like we need to think through thoroughly. So that gas penalty, I guess, would not, they wouldn't know until, you don't know how much gas until it's actually executed. And that's why it's safe to estimate in 2 to 4 times of the amount of the current estimate when you're submitting the transaction. And so you would set this gas limit to a reasonable level that would give you that's kind of safe boundary. You could even go up to 9 times as much, or 9.999 times. But there would be no way to give a user that 25% disclaimer because it happens at the time of execution.
Okay, I understand, because I know people, they don't know what they're doing. And then when they see that, they're just going to go, what's this? That's why.
Certainly. And I think like robust documentation, we need to have make sure that it's very, very clear. But one of the things that we spent a lot of time doing is researching what is a safe boundary, what is going to ensure that these accidents don't happen. Because for the most part, these estimations will be very, very accurate. Because one other aspect of Telcoin network protocol, one of the reasons that we felt comfortable taking an approach to economically disincentivize this type of behavior is because we have stable base fees for the entire epoch. So a lot of other protocols are reacting to the previous block. On Ethereum, you have how much gas was used in this block, and based on that, we will either increase or decrease our gas fees. Telcoin network is we are doing a sort of a static base fee for several blocks. And this is partly because one of the biggest complaints and pain points that we've observed in the ecosystem is that gas is really unpredictable. So what we're hoping to address is by having a standard base fee, you can much more accurately predict how much your fees are going to cost, because EVM is deterministic. So if you simulate the transaction, you know exactly how much gas you're going to use. The base fee is not going to change unless you're at an epoch boundary, which only happens every 24 to 25 hours. And so within that time frame, you can be very, very accurate with your estimate and your gas limit. And so we are unaware of any tools that use that would estimate gas over 10 times. And I think that would actually be rather dangerous as well in case of an unforeseen contract interaction or something. But I am open to feedback, and we would definitely love to hear more about this from anybody in the community who has an opinion or thoughts on this type of issue. Again, I will share that link to the PR and to the actual issue that was identified in the security competition. All right, I think that we are good on questions. If there's anything else that comes up, we'll have some time at the end to circle back.
I threw a few of them I'm sorry to interrupt you, Grant. I threw a few in the chat.
All right, great. Thanks, Derek. Okay, missed those. All right, so question from the stream. So we have, so when the patches are done, do we have more audits planned before MNOs start testing? No, we don't. That's not a requirement for MNOs to start testing. When we are ready for these next audits, this is going to be what we truly believe is production ready code. Everything is we've addressed all the known issues that we're aware of. We've gone beyond feature complete, which was a big push for this initial security competition. Now we are feature complete, and we're production hardening. We're also addressing the security patches. And so once that production hardening is complete, that's really the last gate to keep that we're asking MNOs to be patient for, just before we're spinning up these nodes. And we actually have started with some of our more familiar operators, just testing these like syncing nodes and stuff with the current DevNet, which is how we identify a few other areas that we need to address. But for the most part, our biggest concern is rushing the opportunity with mobile network operators, saying, hey, it's good to go, and then it's not. And so the security patches for a testnet is also significant. And is very important, and it would be a reputational impact to have a security incident, even if it was on a testnet. However, we're constantly improving our confidence that the protocol is not only secure, but it's also high performance and reliable. So in a nutshell, I would say the production hardening is the thing that we're asking MNOs to wait for. There will be more audits after that, but ultimately that will be a good exercise for the operators as well to experience doing network upgrades and managing the private keys, starting and stopping the process, etc. That things that are going to be happening in mainnet when we fork, for instance, for an upgrade on the network. And the audits will continue when testing starts. Yes, that's correct. So, all right. Question from the stream. All right. Paul mentioned 50 MNOs by the end of the year. We are less than a month out from that. Have any MNOs announced working with Telcoin? Do we have any, and can we expect any to announce soon? So I know that everybody's really excited about this, and I am too. But ultimately, the MNOs have a reputation to protect, and there is a reason that you don't hear about all the MNOs running these blockchains efforts. There's a wide variety of experience amongst the MNOs when it comes to familiarity with blockchains and other protocols. Ultimately, 50 MNOs by the end of the year, I think that they will announce when they are ready to announce. That specific number, I think, is great. We are in talks with at least that many, and I think ultimately the MNOs have to announce it for themselves. This is something that we've asked for in our MOUs, is like co-marketing stuff, but really it's just going to be down to what they feel comfortable with. And I think as we launch testnet and we get closer to actually get through these audits and everything, it'll be a lot more obvious who's participating, and I think there'll be a lot more information to share. But at this time, there's really nothing for them to even participate with. So as far as testnet goes, but yes, we have strong interest from many mobile network operators. I'm not going to specify numbers and get into specifics, but I am very excited and have full confidence that mainnet is going to launch and be a huge success. Are there any other questions for right now? All righty.
Nope, none in the stream.
Great. All right. Then we will move on to topic agenda number 4, a TIP for the Unified Web Presence for Telcoin ecosystem. Nick, would you care to speak on that?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Grant. So yeah, this is a subject that has needed careful thought and discussion. So I know we've spoken about it on a couple of meetings, but it's been imperative that we take our time with it and we really get a lot of feedback, a lot of discussions. We had a great meeting internally within the council yesterday on this particular topic and this subject. The unanimous kind of decision is that yes, 100% we need to move forward with this. So at this current stage, we are just pulling together as much information as we can to really plan out and have a good vision of how the Telcoin ecosystem should be facing the public, and how we're going to do it. So the initial, for those that might not be familiar with it, the current state of play of the multiple, as we all know, that Telcoin is a huge ecosystem with different facets and areas, and it's fragmented. We don't really, I mean, those that are really deeply involved understand it, but from an outside perspective, whether you're a developer, whether you're just an interested end user, or whether you're a partner, or whether you're an M&O, it's quite difficult to really kind of get to the information or to get to some familiarity that you understand. So the whole goal of this exercise that we are putting a lot of careful thought into is to unify the web presence for the Telcoin ecosystem. And most of the thought process has sustained on the future of next year, when mainnet launches. The Telcoin network is going to become the center point of the ecosystem. Is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So the thought process is that we will consolidate everything into one main primary domain, which will most probably be telcoin.network, and we will have an extremely good landing page and navigation for different areas of the ecosystem. So governance could be governance.telcoin.network. Telex liquidity could be telex.telcoin.network. The Explorer scan.telcoin.network, etc. So we are just taking a lot of information in, planning very carefully, trying to get a really good vision of how we want this to look. And then we are going to be trying to attempt to tie this in with a similar sort of time frame to mainnet launch, and the whole end goal of the entire process will be a lot cleaner, a lot more simple, a lot more direct as well. So there's a lot going on. We're taking in a lot of information, like I said, and so obviously feedback is always welcome, but I think the expected impact is going to be a stronger brand identity, reduced cost and development time, because right now we've got different websites that work on different backends and stuff, an improved user experience, a far better developer onboarding process, more transparent with the governance, and overall improved SEO and ecosystem clarity. So that's kind of where we are on that. It's not going to be an overnight thing, so we'll probably be talking about this in a lot of meetings, because it is a big thing. We need to make sure that everybody's aligned on the same page, and we want to really push this and get something that's going to make life a lot easier for everybody. So that's kind of where we are on that at the moment.
Well said. Yeah, I think and part of that too is narrowing down some of the MVP features, and it is a large project, and there's a lot of information to kind of funnel down and to organize. So I think that everything I've seen is councils are moving forward deliberately and just trying to make sure that this is done correctly, and that kind of in that planning stage still. But I think it's a great initiative. I'm really glad that you brought it up, Nick. So I'm excited to continue working towards this. All right.
We'll get there.
Yes, and so anyone else in the community as well, if you are aware of a project or a website or anything it doesn't have to necessarily be blockchain related, but another large project has many different platform wide initiatives. A few good examples, we would always happy to see those if you'd share those, and we'll add those to our assessment.
Yeah, and just to top off, there is a proposal for this in the association forum, so anybody can go on there and reply. So if you find any websites, we've had a look at all of the big boys like Circle and Ripple and a few others, and non blockchain based websites too, but big corporate entities, a lot of them are not very good. Vodafone's website is terrible for me personally, but a lot of these big corporate websites, some of them get it right, some of them get it wrong. We need to make sure we get it right. So any websites that you've seen that you think are very easy to understand, I mean, I could talk all night long, but one of the factors we want to implement is like a universal search, for example, on this main portal, where it will suck in all the information from the different parts of the ecosystem. So, you know, things to make the user experience a lot quicker and a lot easier where they land on the land. Whether a developer, you might want to find out some deep developer documents, so a universal search, things like that. You know, feature wise, anything you guys find that helps you navigate and get information you want, let us know. You know, by all means, DM us or stick it on a reply on the forum.
All right, moving on to the Coinmetro Golden Ticket Competition, another exciting initiative that's spearheaded here by Blue Lights. You want to tell us about the competition, how things are going?
Well, the first thing I got to say is that we got confirmation about just over an hour ago that we won the competition. So, I mean, you know, that is a testament not only to everybody on the council who's put effort in, but to the Telfam. They have really stepped up. You know, I don't think I've ever seen the community come together as well as they have. You know, there could be lots of little fights in between everybody, but as a whole, the Telfam came out. You know, they followed all the missions. We had a 3-week or 4-week long. It's been intense. You know, the first we actually started a week late as well on the actual competition. So the first 2 weeks were a Twitter competition for getting the most tags and most you know, what's the word for it? Tagging Coinmetro and using the word tell, etc. We came out on top on the we started a week late and we came out on top on the first round. So that was awesome. The second round moved into Telegram. We had some great competition with one of the other projects on there. And then we had the old infamous bot invasion that, you know, that faked all votes on the Telegram vote, which was kind of like expected. However, Coinmetro were very on top of it and they kind of realized what was going on. So we moved into the third round, which was Discord. And the way that this worked was you had to have a verified Coinmetro account and link your Discord so they could make sure that only real people, genuine people, were actually voting. And then we had a head-to-head, and it was, this last week has been a tough battle. We've had to keep the pressure on, and a huge shout out to the Telfam, because for some it was extremely easy for them to KYC and link their Discord. They did it in a couple of minutes and it was fine. They voted and it was easy peasy. For others, they've been through, you know, issues with doing the KYC, issues with linking their Discord, and I got to tell you, they stuck to their guns and they completed their missions. You know, they were maybe kicking and screaming, but we had a fantastic turnout. I can't remember what the exact number was. I think we had 98 real, genuine, you know, users voting in the competition. And the second project, WCO, they had 68 or something at the end. But for a while, it was we had the lead, but for a while it was a hit and miss. But anyway, the good news is about an hour ago, the week-long competition completed. Telcoin came out on top. We now get a free listing with Coinmetro. Coinmetro is a fantastic European exchange based in Estonia. They are working heavily with compliance. They're doing their Mika, you know, the same kind of mission that Telcoin's on, focusing on compliance first. A lot of these other exchanges, you know, do the other way around. They get the users and then they face compliance. And they offer, you know, the beauty of it is they offer fiat on and off ramps in pretty much all jurisdictions: EU, UK, Canada, US. And they're going to be listing Telcoin. So, you know, from that perspective, for us, it's another win. But this is the Telfam. They delivered. All we did was just, you know, push it out there and keeping the pressure on. But the Telfam really came in and you know, did the home run. So huge congrats to everybody that put the effort in and voted. And the next part of the process is they will be reaching out to us. I'll put them in touch with Leo, etc., whoever needs to be in there. They will be doing the due diligence, and sorting out the liquidity we need. They cover the first month of liquidity. We can use we can use our own market maker to do that. So we'll have internal discussions on how we proceed with that. But I know Christmas is coming up, but it shouldn't take too long. Estimation is 3 to 4 weeks probably. It's all transparent and open. There's no hidden, nothing like that, because it's been a public competition. So yeah, overall excited, great, another one on the list. And hopefully there's a lot more stuff we can do with Coinmetro as well. They're also going to be holding an AMA, with Telcoin. So we should probably, roll up our sleeves and get some good speakers on that. So yeah, more visibility, more publicity. Overall, just super happy, really. Yeah, could go on for ages, but that's kind of where we are.
That's incredible. Way to go, Tel fam, and awesome lead, Nick. Great work, everybody. Really, really cool. All right, so I think, kind of segueing into this a little bit, I think it was on the agenda that we published, was a Telcoin Network kind of talking about the first draft, and in a similar vein is how Coinmetro drummed up all this attention, engaging users, how we might do some of that on Telcoin Network and get as we prepare towards mainnet and with the testnet launch as well. So I think that we were hoping to have a presentation kind of ready to kick off today, but I think that still just needs a little bit more work, if I'm not mistaken. Derek, did you?
Yeah. Yeah, we still have some work to do on it. We're building out a pitch deck for developers, essentially, the graphic pitch deck, and a few other things. So still, I'm not ready. I don't want to show a half-finished project yet, or product yet. It's only the first version, but it's going to be a helpful tool moving forward. Community, and we'll have a community version that anybody can just send to a potential person so they can learn about the benefits of building on the network is the idea. Very simple, very easy to understand, and then we'll have some more in-depth infographic pitch deck stuff as well after somebody emails us at devs@telcoin.org, and we'll get that, and then we can always send the full pitch deck and kind of just creating some media around that process. So that's what we've been working on.
Excellent. Yeah, I totally agree. I just wanted to acknowledge that, since I think it was on the posted agenda, but we'll just leave it as a tease this week and coming to you soon. All right. I think with that, we are able to open up our Q&A session, answer any other questions that might have come up in the chat or during these last competitions. We've had a ton of exciting updates. Again, that Coinmetro Golden Ticket competition is just fantastic. And really looking forward to hearing any other questions from the community that might have come up. Do we have anything in the chat?
There's one that was asking about what quarter they're expecting a new web page to be completed by. I don't know if somebody wants to answer that. I know there's a lot of internal conversations going on, but
I would just add that there's no time estimate. The only thing I will say is that we're trying to align it with mainnet launch of the Telcoin network. We wouldn't want it after that, before it maybe, but it has to be at least ideally in parallel, I would say.
That's right. Yeah, and at this stage is very much like just planning, thinking through all of the steps that need to happen in order to make it a successful project. And so it is currently in that planning stage, but there'll be more information as we move forward.
Sure. One more question just came in asking if we were hiring any more devs.
Not at this time, because of the association sets a budget, an annual budget at the beginning of the year. And so our Tel IP 1 was passed. There was a secondary supplemental budget, and somewhat to be expected in year one. There's a lot of growing and et cetera. So the new fiscal year starts in January, and the council, one of the big responsibilities for the global councils will be to set the budget for the year and allocate those funds and provision Tel responsibly, as we kind of introduced in the beginning of this meeting. So at this time, there is no immediate plans, but we'll be looking at the budget here for 2026, and I think that we could definitely acknowledge that there's plenty of development work that could be happening. So we're definitely open and interested in more development work. For any interested developers out there, we have open sourced all of our repos under MIT and Apache 2.0 licenses. They're very developer friendly. We would love any sort of open support. And that's a great way to introduce yourself and kind of flex your skills. So as we look at developers and potential new hires here, that'd be a great way to stand out in the crowd and get to know the project and see if you are a good fit.
Any other questions in the chat?
One thing I'll just add, I keep wanting to thank the Telfam for their huge assistance in this Coinmetro competition. They've really come together, and I think we've proved the point. The community can do so much when they've got a mission to do, So we really I want to at least try to work out and focus on more missions and more ways the community can actually do things themselves to show their support for the project. So yeah, we've got plenty of ideas, and don't worry, Telfam, we're going to keep it consistent. We're going to think of other things for you guys to do and get your teeth stuck into, because I know it's difficult sitting back sometimes and just twiddling your thumbs and waiting to hear news. But when you guys can actually do something, you've proven that you've come together like a real army, and it's super powerful. We can do a lot more. So yeah, definitely expect some more missions of maybe varying types to help get stuck in and push everything forward.
Can't say it enough. Thank you, Telfam. All right. Before we close our meeting, I'd like to go ahead and just confirm the upcoming schedule. So we are going to try to pick up back on our bi-weekly routine. We had a 3-week gap between this and the last meeting. Yeah. Derek, what's that?
Sorry, I was waiting. You go ahead, Grant. There's one more question that came in. Go ahead.
Okay. So we originally had the next meeting planned for next week. Because this meeting was pushed back 1 week, I think we were all in favor of pushing back to the bi-weekly cadence. So our next meeting would be December 18th. Which would cause the next bi-weekly meeting to be on New Year's. So maybe do another 3-week there. So we would be December 18th, 3 weeks, January 8th, and then resume back on January 22nd. And we'll be clear of any holidays for quite some time after that.
Just a step, and I think we should do a TIP for planning the 2026 council meetings, time-wise, as well as agenda setters and speakers for the year, so that at no point in time it's a last-minute change or decision that we have to go around. I don't know what everyone's thoughts are on that, but it seems like a pretty easy proposal to align around. And I think maybe BZ, you had a framework that you were using.
Yeah, I can
effectively
circulate
use that. Okay, great. Thank you.
Great idea. I think we'll definitely let's do that. All right.
There's
December
one
18th, everybody. And yeah, so let's circle back. And Derek, what's the question?
There's let's see, this I can answer this one regarding the X post yesterday with partnership with Uphold. Is there more to that besides new listings? Long story short, there's lots of opportunities anytime that you get involved with a new partner or exchange or a swap protocol or anything else like that. So for those of you that know anything about Uphold, they have lots of different things that they provide to projects, and not just being listed on their platform. So it was more of just a further commitment to working with them on potential other things down the road. It is not a listing of saying, hey, we're doing something. Obviously, anything that gets done has to be voted on by the community and through the proper process. So this is just more of a affirmation of it's a strong partnership, and we were really happy with how things have started on the exchange, and especially some of the volume numbers that we have seen. I can share that they have stated that it's one of their best releases on Uphold compared to some of the top projects out there, and I'm sure you can make guesses as to what those are. So they're very happy with everything, and we're very happy to be partnered with them, and just one of many more things to come, I think, when it comes to both with Uphold and with other entities. So that's all.
All right, well said. One last question in the stream. Based on the current progress, when do you expect to start testnet time-wise? So we are focused on the roadmap, not necessarily time-wise. Again, we'll ship when it's ready, not when it's convenient. That is not to be dismissive of anybody's expectations or genuine questions. These time questions are important, and this is something that I respect the interest, making sure that the project is seriously working, that people are not slacking off, and that there's not incompetence, and it is hard to gauge that without these clear timelines, etc. Ultimately, we are changing a lot of the protocol to get it production ready. We are constantly improving and refining the code that will be mainnet, and so it's very, very difficult to provide an accurate time estimate of when testnet will actually be ready. So I will say that that once the production aspects are complete, I think that we'll have the security patches done relatively quickly, and in weeks, not months. And after that, we've identified several of the production upgrades that need to happen in order to get the code and the nodes ready for production. Once that is all stable and well tested, that we have operators that are ready to go participate, and testnet will be launched pretty quickly after that. We have refined our deployment stuff really well with the DevNet, and so all these things are coming together so that when we are in a point that we're ready to go with the code, and it's stable enough that we're going to put in these really powerful servers and these data centers, then it's going to move very quickly once it does happen. As far as a specific timeline, though, I can't answer that. But please be sure to keep an eye on the roadmap, because we will update that constantly to keep the community as informed as we can in our progress. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for participating in the 27th recurring council meeting. I'll see you all December 18th. And way to go, TelFam.
Just a reminder for everybody, we do have the TAN Council stream that'll start in about 10 to 15 minutes.
Amazing. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Grant.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.